How do you tackle a lawsuit like that?
So everyone talks about class actions, but in all of these big companies like Celsius's terms of service, they say that you can't actually sue them in federal court. But there's a loophole which says that you can sue them in small claims court. And so what my company does is we automate small claims court lawsuits. And so it's almost fitting that the answer to decentralized crypto fraud is thousands of small claims decentralized lawsuits.
So Joshua, I've been excited to speak to you because you know that I went to law school and
Yes.
I was never cut out to be an attorney. Just bring me back to basics. Sonali's laughing in New York, I know she is. Bring me back to basics. What is a chatbot lawyer?
So DoNotPay's mission is to empower the consumer to fight back. We've been operating for about 6 years, taking on big companies like Equifax and Comcast. When United doesn't refund your money, consumers come to us. And recently we decided, why not help consumers get justice against these crypto companies that are freezing people's money like Celsius?
Well, why have you chosen to move over to crypto companies? Obviously, there are a lot of them right now, and many of them that are freezing withdrawals at this point in time. And if you're a crypto customer that is part of that pain, it's not like you have a lot of money left over to spend on a lawsuit like this. So why have you moved over from other forced arbitration clauses into this world?
So small claims court is an amazing tool. It can get consumers between $10,000 and $25,000, and it's a very easy process. A judge will often side with a consumer in their local jurisdiction just because they feel bad for them. And so if Celsius doesn't show up to all these small claims court lawsuits across the country, the consumer wins by default. And so because it's such an easy process, it only takes about a month or two, and it allows the consumer to get justice before these companies declare bankruptcy, which is looking very likely.
What's the likelihood of really recouping funds here, and how costly do you think it could be for a firm like Celsius?
So Celsius has to send someone in every single case, even if it's for $10,000. So DoNotPay has initiated over 1,500 lawsuits against Celsius in different parts of the country, even in rural towns. They have to send a lawyer just to defend themselves. And in my opinion, I don't think they will, and the consumers will win. So even an average of $10,000 a lawsuit, these small claims lawsuits are going to cost them millions. But these are small retail investors who are getting their money back. And once a judgment is gotten in small claims court, you're actually at the front of the line in a bankruptcy proceeding. So it's very good that small retail investors can be ahead of the institutional investors if things really go bad with these big platforms.
Joshua, can we talk about Twitter?
Yes.
I spend a lot of time on Twitter. You spend quite a lot of time on Twitter.
Yes, I'm addicted to Twitter.
I'm not going to go as far as to say I'm addicted, but there's a lot of tweeting about cryptocurrencies from very well-known people, Elon Musk probably being the easiest example, through to accounts with very few users, but markets seem to move on tweets.
Yes.
What's your take on that?
I think everything you say on Twitter has to be legal and everything, and the same standards as everything you say in real life. People think that just because it's an online platform, they aren't held to the same standard, but they really are. And we're seeing this in crypto fraud. We've used tweets in the past in small claims lawsuits, and it's the same with moving markets and SEC violations and things like that.
Well, that's a fascinating question, too, about tweets and where it falls in regard to customers getting money back, any distortions in the markets. There's a lot of questions about even some of the advertising some of these crypto firms had done prior to pausing withdrawals. I mean, what type of evidence does that create for the retail investor in terms of being encouraged to put their money into something that was not going to work out later?
Well, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And a lot of these platforms weren't advertising the risks of getting a 20% interest rate properly. They were saying things like, your money is safe and secure, you can get it back very quickly. And even though they buried in the terms of service, they have all of these special clauses, that's really not clear written consent. Based on like FTC guidelines. And so if you're not clear with the consumer, you will face all of this litigation and regulatory problems if things go badly.
We're seeing a pretty ugly chart on the screen. Bitcoin, year to date, 1 year, it's down a lot. That's been a part of the story. I'm going to use Sonali's favorite word, regulation. You reckon that we'll see some more regulation in this space?
I think we will. I think so many people will lose so much money that everyone is going to write to their congressman. DoNotPay also does that to get as much regulation as possible.
Be more specific there. What exactly is DoNotPay asking for regulation here, especially because, you know, there is a sense that the SEC might come down harder on the enforcement side than it will on the actual regulatory side in creating new rules?
So all of these crypto companies generally have money transmitter licenses, which is a very low standard of regulation. What they're actually doing is something called being a broker-dealer. And so at the very least, we would want them to all be licensed as broker-dealers versus money transmitters. And I think that would lead to more disclosures and consumers feeling like they're better protected. And there are lots of legitimate companies like Coinbase who would probably go in that direction, but less legitimate players like Celsius that are speculating with funds might not survive.